Hi guys, it's James here at Full Fat 4x4. Something a little bit different today. I'm actually at the British Motor Museum, so I'm going to go and have a look around. I think there's some quite interesting cars there. There's a decent Land Rover section. Yeah, I'm going to bring you guys along for the journey. So yeah, hopefully it should be quite interesting. Quick updates. It's been a couple of days since I've done a video. There's been plenty going on. I've just picked up this Ipanema Sand Vogue from E.H. Douglas, just having the charge air hoses on the turbo bypass actuator being replaced because they had split. So I've just picked this up. I've got another car coming in later today, so that's quite an unusual one. It's an autobiography with a tan interior, so quite excited to check that out. And yeah, a few other bits and pieces going on. So yeah, well, we'll get into it, get into the Motor Museum, and hopefully there'll be some quite interesting Range Rovers there. Right, so as you enter the museum, one of the first things that'll catch your eye is this number. So it is a 1948 pre-production Land Rover, and it immediately caught my eye as it's very similar to the one that I've been asked to sell on behalf of a customer. And I think it's really interesting to see the sort of similarities and differences between this sort of, 1948 original and then the 2010, much more modern version. You can really tell that there's some sort of quite striking similarities, and that the design hasn't really changed all that much in nearly 60 years. So it is quite impressive to see one of the originals. And if you kind of just have a quick look at the blurb, it says that this particular car was sold to a Warwickshire farmer, and then by the time it was finished with on the farm, it was bought back by the Rover company for restoration. So yeah, pretty cool to see. So this is a Range Stormer concept vehicle from 2004. And what immediately stands out to me is that it looks almost identical to a Range Rover Evoque or the sort of Range Rover Sport. So, it's interesting, isn't it, to think that Land Rover as early as 2004 had their eyes on, something like an Evoque or a Sport. I just think that's, the design cues of that are very, very similar to those cars. So, yeah, quite interesting to see the sort of the concept and where those cars came from in terms of sort of design cues. So you can see even the steering wheel, that looks like the sort of modern L405 steering wheel. Quite interesting to see. And I think this one was a 4.2 in the concept. So yeah, quite cool to see. Well, another one, something a little bit different. This is the Judge Dredd car. I didn't actually realise it was based off a Land Rover, so it had a 3.5 petrol V8 and quite a funky looking interior. I don't know if you can really see that, there's quite a lot of light there, but apparently this is the only complete one with interior and was used for the interior shots of that movie, so yeah, pretty cool to see. Okay, so we're now over in the sort of Jaguar Land Rover collection as part of the British Motor Museum, and I can sort of already see there's some quite sort of interesting looking bits knocking around. I'm led to believe there's the millionth discovery. I've already walked past a Skyfall Defender, but immediately I'm very much drawn to this spectacle. So it's a P38 Range Rover in police livery. And yeah, it does look like quite a special car. It would be, I think if they could talk, I can only imagine the sort of stories that would be, embedded in this one. But yeah, I can fully see why the cops would have gone for a Range Rover. I mean, they're just such practical cars, and also fairly quick. I imagine that sort of motorway patrol, rural use, just absolutely perfect. So this is the actual Defender 110 that was used in the Bond Skyfall film. So again, pretty sort of interesting bit of Land Rover history. And I'm led to believe that Land Rover have had a few excursions in Bond films. So it's certainly very cool to see the actual cars that have been used in the films. So yeah, there's the interior of that one. Pretty cool. I do love the way that these sort of cutaway exhibitions are done. I just think that the engineering that goes into it is absolutely fantastic. Although we did have a bit of a joke that there was an MG in the main sort of section of the museum that's been cut in half, and apparently it wasn't a very good car, so probably best for that one to stay cut in half. But pretty cool to see a Defender that's been sort of sectioned like this. You know, really sort of gives you a feel for how they were put together. Tucked away in the corner, this is the first of the line L405 Range Rover on an SD V8. So yeah, really quite interesting to see, just sort of tucked away. I think, you know, everything in this collection is meant to be quite special. So this is apparently the first one that was produced off the line on a 62 plate. So yeah, pretty cool. So again, another first of the line. This is the Freelander 2, and I think this is Zanzibar Orange. First of the line Freelander 2. You know, so great that these are being kept in a museum to you know, to sort of mark the you know, heritage of Land Rover. This one then is the millionth discovery produced, which I think did some kind of oh, there we go, yeah, Birmingham to Beijing overland, 8,000 miles in 50 days. So again, you know, just goes to show when these cars are working, they are just fabulously capable. And yes, okay, you know, I caveat it all with when they're working. And then this is the concept hybrid electric plug-in of the Range Rover Sport. I'm not sure that this really went anywhere in 2010, but, you know, there you go. Claimed 84 mpg. Well, you know, that's nothing for modern day plug-in hybrids, is it? But again, you know, it just sort of goes to show that Land Rover were doing the thinking back then. This Defender was the actual Defender used in the Tomb Raider Lara Croft movie, and apparently Angelina Jolie couldn't drive stick in a right-hand drive car, and so Land Rover turned this one into an automatic, and that gear selector looks like it might be out of a P38 or some kind of old Jaguar or something in the stable, but allegedly the first automatic Defender. So again, you know, sort of pretty special stuff. And then right behind it, this is the first G4 Challenge Discovery, which I always think this sort of G4 orange is an awesome colour. I don't really know the exact history behind this one, other than just the plaque saying it's the first G4 Challenge car. Okay, we've got some more first of line. So this is the first of the line L322, produced in 02. So left-hand drive. And then this is first of line P38 in Epsom green. I think it's got a tan leather interior. Absolutely incredible to see. This one even still has the sticker on the back. Well, I say sticker, I don't know if this is original, but you know, if you assume that that's the original sort of sales sticker for the first of the line, you know, that's an incredible piece of history, isn't it? In terms of sort of Range Rover development and the heritage of the brand. Absolutely brilliant. The only thing about sort of all these collections is, you know, I wonder if any of these cars get driven. It's obviously great that they're being preserved, but it does also seem like a bit of a waste if they're just sort of sat here not being enjoyed. And we have the last classic Range Rover. I mean, just fantastic to see the last one produced, preserved in this collection. Absolutely brilliant. Goodness, what on earth is this? Well, we'll have to come back and have a look at the description there, but there almost seems like there's a bit of sort of modern Defenderism going on there. I wonder if that was sort of used as a bit of inspiration for the new Defender. Well, actually, yeah, you look at it and you can sort of see the sort of, how would you say, the design language that's present in that interior. You can definitely see that in the new Defender. So I wonder if that was some kind of concept that sort of paved the way for the next one. But yeah, absolutely brilliant to see all these. I do love a sort of bronzy golder colour scheme. This is the millionth Land Rover produced. Absolutely brilliant. I was commenting on the one which is in the main. Oh, I think it's got a sort of suede velour interior. That is interesting. I've never seen anything like that before. And then there's a Camel Trophy Range Rover? No, Discovery. This is a Discovery. Well, the first Discoveries and the Range Rover Classics actually shared the same chassis. And I think they also shared the engines for a bit. So It's quite easy to, look at that from one angle and think, oh, there's a bit of Range Rover behind it. All right, quite an interesting piece of both Land Rover history, British history, royal history. So this is the late Queen Mother's Range Rover. So that would have been the mother to Queen Elizabeth, who just recently passed away. So that's the Queen Mother's Range Rover, and it looks like it's got to be on air suspension because it's lowered down and with big sideboards, and it also looks like it is a extended wheelbase version of the car. So again, just sort of thinking about the comment about that police Range Rover, if cars could talk, if you were a fly on the wall, so to speak, of history and the sort of conversations that would have been had in cars like this. Absolutely brilliant. Another first of line, 1989, first of the line Land Rover Discovery. Yeah, and I can really sort of see the similarity between the interior of this and the Range Rover Classic. Some of you may have been aware that when Full Fat 4x4 just started, I did pick up a Range Rover Classic, which turned out to be not a very good business move. I lost quite a lot of money on it, but I learned a lot, and it was very interesting, and very interesting to drive. And I can definitely see the interior of this car. It definitely shares lineage with that Range Rover Classic. So another sort of piece of British royal history and also Land Rover history. This is King Charles, as in the current king. His I think it must have been one of his first Range Rovers, 1995, and a lovely colour scheme, sort of green, and interior sort of teddy bear velour finish. I bet that's pretty cosy place to be. But yeah, really quite special cars in this collection. I can only imagine the sort of conversations and places where conversations that would have taken place in cars like that, and the places that it's been. I wouldn't be surprised if that sort of found its way up onto various grouse moors quite often. And then right behind it, this is quite an interesting car, isn't it? It is a two-door L405 Range Rover. Well, it certainly looks like it. It was a concept coupe. I mean, that actually does look bloody fantastic, doesn't it? I know the angle's not great because of the glare, but no, it really does look like quite a special place to be. Pardon, there's a bit of HVAC noise going on above me there, but I mean, that's really quite a special car. I've really packed it in there. I mean, possibly not very practical in the rear, but absolutely brilliant. So I'm just going to touch on this first of line L322 a bit more. So it was developed it was first off the line in 2002. I do think it's absolutely incredible that 22 years later, and I've driven here in an L322, and okay, yes, it will have been very, very different from this original 2002 car, but the design is still relevant today. I think that's just such an indicator of how right it was kind of the first time round. Okay, yes, it's had lots of iterations, lots of improvements over the years, but the fundamental design, the space, the layout, how the rear seats fold, the space in the boot, the tailgate, it's all still relevant today, and such an excellent car. And just sort of reading the blurb there, what's quite interesting is that this was apparently the first time that Land Rover went into sort of monocoque production. So rather than the body sitting on a ladder chassis, it's a monocoque design. So unlike the Discoveries and the Range Rover Sports of the similar kind of era to the L322s that I look to deal in, where you have to remove the body from the chassis. The L322 is a monocoque design, which does away with that. It also makes it a much stiffer chassis, which is much better for dynamic handling. So really quite sort of ahead of its time. I'd love to be able to get in this and have a good look around, but I'm not sure that would be appropriate. But fabulous to see the first of the line. Okay guys, well I hope you've enjoyed that little tour of the British Motor Museum and some of the Land Rover exhibits that they've got. I find this sort of stuff absolutely fascinating, and I think if you're a Land Rover Anorak like I am, it's definitely worth popping up here for a visit. So yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed this, and it's given you a little flavour of the exhibits that you can come and see. Okay, cheers guys, bye.